Did your IVF cycle fail? Now you're wondering, what the heck do I do next because you still want a baby? This video was supposed to be IVF Part 3, the embryo transfer. But unfortunately for me, IVF did not work and I had no embryos to transfer. This video I'm going to go over how I found out that I needed an egg donor, how I felt about it, how I selected an egg donor, and then also some very interesting, helpful facts that might be able to help you feel better about this situation. So stay tuned. Welcome to Wanna Be Mama. Today our life took a big turn as we found out that IVF is probably not the best route for us to go as my eggs suck. We found out that all of my eggs were immature, that they did not grow the way they wanted them to grow, even though my blood levels and everything looked good before they did the egg retrieval. My doctor, he's like the head of the department, and he said, for you, I'm not going to be the kind of doctor that's like, yeah, keep spending money and do another cycle, because he didn't see IVF working for me because my eggs didn't respond the way they were supposed to. So yesterday they took out 4 eggs with my egg retrieval and none of them are mature. They're going to try incubating them for one more day to see if they mature, but if they don't, they won't get fertilized. And I just threw away $15,000. What he told me was that if I ever wanted to have a child would be to use an egg donor. What they did tell us today is for us to be able to have our own children, it would better be with an anonymous egg donor, a known egg donor, or a person who donates their embryos to us. And if we choose to go the anonymous egg donor route, it would be around $31,500. The bright side of that is I would be able to carry the child and it would be half him. But it's just a lot of things to think about right now, and kind of disappointed and sad that my own eggs will never become children. Finding out that you have to use an egg donor is a really scary thought, and this was my initial reaction. I have felt all the feelings in the book. My first thought was, ew, no, that's my husband, and I feel like he would be creating a child with someone else. I thought that my husband's sperm, which not my husband, but my husband's sperm was cheating on me. In the beginning, I didn't want him to look at the egg donors because I didn't want him to visualize him creating a child with her, which is very stupid, but that's what I felt. While selecting an egg donor, I was looking at my baby pictures. That was the hardest thing for me. I felt like the baby version of me is dead because I will never have a child that looks like the baby version of me. And I felt sad that there'll never be a love child between me and my husband. There will never be a child that's both me and him. Knowing that was our only option, it took me a week of being very, very sad to get over the idea and become excited to choose an egg donor. This was something that helped me process knowing that I have to use an egg donor. Think of like you have like a Lego set and you have all of the pieces besides one piece. You're asking to borrow someone's one piece to build this whole Lego set. I am just missing the one piece that I need to form a body, and this one piece is one cell. Yes, it is genetically someone else's DNA, but you're the one doing all the work. It's still your child. I believe that we're all predestined to be in the families that we are, and that our families are already decided for us in heaven. And so I feel like the spirits that come to these bodies, even though they're genetically from a different woman, the spirit is my child, and it was supposed to be with me since the very beginning. Know that even though you're not 100% from me, at least I'll be able to grow them and they will be mine. So the bright side of using an egg donor is you get to carry the baby yourself if your uterus is good enough to do it. If your husband has good sperm, it's still your husband's child. The bonding happens when you carry a child. When you're pregnant, it helps start the bonding process. Even if you choose an egg donor, it's called epigenetics, which is like something that happens inside. The baby will sometimes look a lot like the mom. So like you're nourishing them. Oh, one really awesome thing about egg donor, you pay for the egg donor's IVF cycle, her medication. The fee also includes money that they give her for her donorship. But what is awesome is that you get all of her embryos. They have way better egg quality egg count than us ladies who have to use an egg donor. So when you're doing IVF for them, you're going to get a lot of eggs and a lot of embryos. For that one cycle, you get all the children that you're going to have. They'll be frozen and ready to go whenever you're ready to have more children. Adoption is really, really great. Here in Utah, it costs $40,000 to $50,000 to adopt a child. We have an aunt who was on the adoption board for years, and she said that's around the price point for adopting. And a lot of times those children fall through and you don't actually end up adopting them. And then also for the $40,000 to $50,000, you only get one child. Compared to if you do an egg donor, you still have half of your husband, you get to carry the child, and you get all of her embryos that are fertilized. For me, egg donorship is around $32,500, and for that price I will get multiple babies. My clinic offers a guarantee plan where it said if I do not get pregnant and birth a live child after 3 embryo transfers, then I get a lot of the money back. You can put that money towards another donor, or you can keep that money. When you use a donor egg, the success rates are really, really high. The success rates are around 70 to 77% that you'll get pregnant. So buying a guarantee plan isn't always necessary, but because of my luck and everything else failing, I was like, well, I'm just gonna spend, I think it was like $6,000 more for the guarantee plan with the option of getting money back than just paying the regular amount. And it's lucky that we did. Our first 2 embryo transfers failed. Then I was in this process of doing my 3rd one, but then I got COVID. So I had to postpone. The 3rd one worked. This is my daughter, Valerie. She was born using an egg donor. I will post videos about the embryo transfer, my pregnancy with her, and delivery. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. When they're posted, I'll link them up above. Doctors recommend talking to the baby about how they were created, starting when they're really young, because it helps prevent an identity crisis when they're older. But if you're worried about your baby not feeling like you're their mom, I promise everything is going to be okay. They're going to love you and you will love them. One other good part about paying for a guaranteed plan, all the doctor's visits, ultrasounds, and the actual embryo transfer procedure is paid for by the guaranteed plan. Normally, if you just buy like one donor embryo cycle, it will just pay for one transfer. But if you buy the guarantee plan, it will pay for as many transfers as they promise that will get you pregnant. If you have to pay for the transfer yourself, it costs around like $35,000 to $40,000. So if the first one doesn't work, and then you have to pay for the 2nd and 3rd one, like that's really expensive. So that's like around $8,000 altogether, $4,000 each. It gets pretty pricey. If you're considering doing the guaranteed plan, and it's not that much more expensive, like $5,000, $6,000 more, I recommend it because we've used all the benefits of that. Now I'm going to go over the whole donor selection process. So this is how you pick an egg donor. Sometimes clinics have an egg donor program that they have like a book of egg donors available for you to look through. And then if you like them, then they could reach out to the egg donor and see if they accept. If your clinic doesn't have an egg donor program, there's national donor banks basically where you can go and select an egg donor from there. Luckily, my clinic has an egg donor program and it was a lot cheaper than using a donor bank. I know a girl who is an egg donor that goes through an egg donor bank and she gets paid like, I think her first round was like $9,000. Her second donation, she got paid $14,000 from the person who wanted to use her eggs. But at my clinic, using my donor's eggs, I only had to pay her $5,000, which I feel like is a pretty good price for using someone's body. So what I did is I called my doctor's office and they gave me a book. The book wasn't very thick. I was looking for someone very specific. I was looking for someone who was tall like me, who had my coloring, and who would just most resemble me. The donor book shows the adult pictures of the donors, but you cannot take those pictures home. No one else is supposed to see them but you. But when they email you the donor profiles, they'll email you the baby pictures of the donors. So I selected one egg donor and they gave me a couple other suggestions. And we actually picked someone who I didn't really notice in the egg donor book, but her baby picture was so freaking cute that I'm like, I have to go with this child. Like, so cute. Once the donor donates her eggs, she's done. She won't know if you got pregnant and she will never know about the child. The donor profiles, they'll have like a genetic donor profile that tells you like, there's nothing genetically seriously wrong with these people. Then there's another profile that the donor fills out her like family history in it, as well as a little bit about the donor. So it gives you a glimpse at who that donor is. I will take you through the donor profile so you can see exactly what it looks like. I'm going to show you guys the donor profile right now so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So if you have to pick an egg donor, you know what you're looking at. So this is the egg donor screening test that like checks for diseases. I don't know what any of this means, but the fact that like there's negative, that I'm sure that's what they were hoping for. And they wouldn't have her be an egg donor if this report wasn't good. So right here, you can see like there's a hair carrier risk and blah, blah, blah. And I don't understand this report at all, but I'm pretty sure that my donor was fine. So this is just what that report looks like. And then the really fun report is the one that actually talks about the egg donor. So this is the egg donor's profile. It goes over, gives you like her birthday, what she looks like. Obviously, you're going to see pictures of them in the donor book, but this is just another written description of who they are. Does she have good hearing? How are her teeth quality? Does she need braces? Does she have allergies? If she works out now, which I feel like that's pretty important. I want a person who's healthy because if they're healthy, then hopefully their eggs are healthy. Talks about their education level. So if you're one of those people who are really, really into having a donor that is super smart, this is where you'll find that information. And then it talks about her interests and what classes she's taken. Then it goes over her social history and then her current medications that she's on, past medical history, if she's had any surgeries and stuff like that. So you can kind of know so that's one thing with having an egg donor. You don't know if there's going to be issues with your child that you're going to have to prepare for. The donor's medical history report will help you decide yes, I want to go with that donor. The donor programs won't admit women who have certain illnesses. And so they're pretty healthy people who are deciding to be donors. So, and then also it goes over family history. It talks about what the parents look like, what the grandparents look like. This page lists common diseases that people can have and cancers and stuff like that. The donor will fill out if her family history has had any of these. Her maternal grandma had asthma. So I might know that my kid might have asthma one day. This one talks about any bodily issues that the person had. And then it also talks about if there's alcoholism that runs in the family, drug addiction, breast cancer, stuff like that. And then this goes over the likes and dislikes of the donor. And then there's a little bio that she wrote about herself so that you can get to know her better. And then I'm going to show you real quick the donor IVF cycle so that you know the timing of when you get her eggs retrieved, then fertilized, and then the embryo transferred into you. So let me just show you what that looks like. So this is a calendar that you guys will get hopefully from your clinic, and it shows you the dates of the donor and the dates of the recipient. So you. So before you do a donor cycle, you need to go to a counselor to make sure that your brain is mentally okay for, growing some other woman's egg in your body. Mine was on April 20th. I did mine through COVID. So I had to do a COVID test and the donor had to do another COVID test as well. So that was on my schedule as well. So everything started basically on May 1st. And then on May 3rd, the recipient, me, because I got a negative COVID test. So I started taking Lupron in my stomach to start to prepare my body to receive the embryo. I was taking birth control throughout this time and I just continued to take the birth control. On the 9th, I took my last birth control pill. And on the 13th, I had my period and I decreased my Lupron shots. And then on May 18th, the donor had her COVID test. If you're not doing it through COVID, you won't have to worry about that. And then on May 20th was her first ultrasound and her lab to start mapping her body for IVF and her egg retrieval. And then on May 21st, the donor takes her last active birth control pill. And on May 25th, the donor starts her injections and her Lupron and all that stuff. And then on May 29th, the donor had her 5-day blood draw and ultrasound to see how her eggs were progressing. And then on June 1st, the donor had her day 8 ultrasound and her estradiol levels checked. And then I also had my ultrasound lining checked that day to make sure that my uterus was where it should be to receive the embryo. On June 3rd was her estimated HCG injection, so her trigger shot, which you need before you retrieve your eggs. And then on the 5th is when they took out her eggs. The recipient, I stopped Lupron and started taking progesterone shots in my upper hip muscle to prepare my body again for embryo transfer. And then, so if you count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 days later, so it'll be a 5-day embryo on June 10th is when one good embryo was transferred into my body. And I had to wait until June 22nd for a blood draw pregnancy test. So as you can tell, if everything's basically started on May 1st, I was taking birth control before that as well. But let's say everything starts on May 1st. It takes about almost 2 months to prepare your body. So May 1st to June 22nd. So almost 2 months to prepare your body for an embryo transfer. The IVF cycle is basically normal for the donor, but you as a recipient also have to go through this stuff and start preparing your body earlier than she does because you're the one that's receiving the embryo. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Just know you're not alone, and know that even though you have to use an egg donor, the baby is still yours because it's your body growing it, and it's the spirit that was supposed to be with you from the very beginning. She is mine, like she's my baby, and she will always feel that love from me. So if you have to use a donor egg, I just say go for it and have faith that everything is going to be good. My next video will go over the embryo transfer.
Now watch the screen. And then after your name goes by, you're going to see a little speck. You'll magnify the speck. That is the baby.
I'll explain the procedure and what to expect at the doctor. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Keep an eye out for that video. If you guys have questions about the egg donor process or how to pick a donor, or like if you just feel really weird about the situation, because trust me, I felt so weird, be sure to reach out. I'm on Instagram and on Facebook, and I also answer comments below. Share this video with other people if they need help. Thank you for watching Wannabe Mama. Good luck, ladies. Where's that baby? Are you sniffing like a dog? Yeah, like a dog. You're so smart, baby.